like Diablo. Macho when I drop flows. Bar gets raised up. It's me and Petey Pablo.
Boom. What's the damn deal? What's the damn deal? Welcome to episode 9 of Sports and Spoilers podcast, YouTube videos, podcast, YouTube. Damien, Sports and Spoilers, your fucking host, bitch. I know that didn't make any sense, or maybe it did make sense. Maybe you followed it because you're of an upper level mind. You know what I'm saying? That you can do that. You can catch on to things that might fly by others. But if you didn't, welcome to Sports and Spoilers. This is episode 9. I'm your host, Damien, Dame, your boy, that guy, whatever you want to call me. You know what I'm saying? Superfly, you know what I'm saying? King. It doesn't matter. You know, I'm here for it all. So, we have a lot to talk about today, okay? I'm not going to waste too much time lollygagging and doing this and that, talking about this and that. We're going to talk about two things today. Game of Thrones and playoff basketball. Kawhi Leonard to be exact, okay? Zaza Pachulia. I just think about Zaza, man. You know, it just started the downfall. But we're not starting there. We're not starting there. We're starting with Game of Thrones. Because Game of Thrones just happened this past week. The finale did. And the last couple episodes were left something to be desired. There are some good parts, there are some bad parts. But overall, after 8 seasons of this amazing show, they finished it in a way that was unsatisfactory for me. I know other people felt the same way. Everyone had their reasons. It's so polarizing that so many people have, you know, these wild-ranging expectations for what they want to happen. And, you know, you can't please everyone. But there's just some things that I wish were different. One of the reasons why I loved Game of Thrones throughout is that it didn't feel like a normal show. In a normal show, you know, your favorite characters couldn't die. You never felt that. You never felt that pain of watching your favorite characters die when you were watching other shows. You never even thought it was a possibility. You figured out who the main character was. You're like, okay, that's the guy or the girl, and that's what it's just going to be until the end of the show. Whatever happens, whoever they run into, they'll go through some trials and tribulations, of course, but in the end, they'll come out on top, and that'll be that. Okay. Now, in Game of Thrones, they gave you so many characters and interesting characters that had strong storylines that at first you didn't even quite know who the main characters were. You thought you knew, you developed some feelings for some, then they die. You know what I'm saying? Then you're like, oh, well, I guess that isn't the main character or the savior. And after they just kind of keep killing people, you're like, okay, whatever. I don't know shit about who the main character is or who I should or shouldn't latch on to. So I'm not going to latch on to anybody. I'm just going to ride it out. I have people I root for, of course, but I'm not going to get too invested in them like that. But then we get all the way to season 8, and you still have people alive like Daenerys and Cersei and Sansa and Jon who died and came back, and you know now he's going to make it all the way to the end, right? And it's like, okay, so this whole journey. Let me just go to my biggest thing is Daenerys. I let myself love on Daenerys because I thought her story was awesome. The Breaker of Chains. That may be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, of the titles bestowed upon her as the mother of dragons, Khaleesi of the Grass Sea, whatever all those goddamn names are. The breaker of chains was the one that was my shit. And she didn't just break other people out of chains; she broke herself out of chains. She was a captive. She was snatched up and sold by her brother to the Dothraki King Drogo, the leader, and forced him to marry him. And then he dies, and she's like, "Okay, so I guess I can leave now." And they're like, "No, actually, you have to stay here with all the other Dothraki wives, whether they're alive or dead, and you're just gonna be here and do what the fuck we tell you to do." And she was like, basically, she was able to free herself of that. She had the eggs. She was engulfed in the flames, the fire. The mother of dragons was born. Okay, awesome. Then she goes through her journey. She's rallying followers, and people are believing in her. And she's going to win the Iron Throne. And like, even if she wins the Iron Throne, it's just about the way that you do it, right? So you have her. Because we talked about predictability. And we don't want the show to be too predictable, but I still feel like there were so many people who were rooting for other things that would have been fine, okay? But no, that's not what happens. In the end, you end up making her turn heel. She burns down the entire city because she's pissed. And me, I am a person who likes to try to understand people's mentalities. Okay, I don't just rush to judgment. The act that you committed, and look at it on its face and just make a decision solely based off of that, without taking into account the things that happened that led up to you making the decision that you made. Okay. Let's keep in mind the times that they live in. This is a Game of Thrones. These are very, very despicable times. You get your head cut off for the slightest sense of, disrespect or, disloyalty. Okay. These are the times that you live in. So you have to look at it through that lens, understanding that what she did was still wrong, okay? But you have to look at it through that lens. This is not these days where if you kill one person, you get locked up and it's off with your head or whatever. Uh, you throw away the key. This is not these times. Killing people is common. Killing innocent people even is common, although frowned upon. So so she went through this entire journey, and when you think about the things that happened to Daenerys and the people that she lost, don't just take into account that it happened. Also take into account when it happened. She went through this entire journey and with all these friends by her side, right? It wasn't until she actually got to, what I'm saying, the north. It wasn't actually until she made her way across the seas and got there did she lose two dragons, lose Jorah, lose Missandei. Okay, so this all happened in one fell swoop where she lost the closest people to her in some of the most gruesome and gut-wrenching ways possible. She was there to witness most of it right there while these things are happening, okay, right in front of her. She had been told during this entire journey that when she got to this place that the people would welcome her. They'd be glad to see their savior is back, the rightful heir to the throne, and they would rally behind her. When she got there, she was met with nothing but resentment and side eyes, and especially like Sansa, who I never really liked, and I don't even understand why she has a hive, because she's been a little punk from the very beginning, okay? You wanted Joffrey so bad, even when your people tried to tell you to fall back, okay? And then you went by his side, you sold out your sister Arya, in the beginning, and got her friend murked. Like, you sold out your family quite a few times on behalf of Joffrey and trying to hold that position. That, no, I'm not riding with you. You made dumb decision after dumb decision. You could have gone with who was it, Tyrion, when he offered to help get you out, but no, you always did the wrong thing. and always ended up putting you in a horrible situation. And I'm supposed to feel super like I felt for you just because of the shit that was happening was fucked up. But two things can be true. I can feel for you because you're going through fucked up things, and also look at you like that's what your ass get though. The people tried to warn you time and time again, and you never wanted to listen. And you had the line in the eighth season about you had to go through this thing so you could become this person. And who is this person? What have you shown me? You know what I'm saying? Um, what's his name? What? Oh my God, I'm forgetting him. Littlefinger. Littlefinger, you were able to manipulate Littlefinger because he was like in love with you, right? And so is that supposed to make me think that you're some queen that someone should stand because you were able to finally get him to use the Knights of the Vale to come help John fight in the Battle of the Bastards and all that dumb shit that like you had them almost murked out there when they were asking for more troops before the battle began, and you kept your mouth shut, knowing that you could bring in another army to help swing the tide. But you didn't say anything until the very last minute when they were about to get overrun and murked, and that's when they show up because you finally was like, all right, I guess I can put my pride aside and go get. Come on, no. I don't understand the Sansa hive. It's very confusing to me. But but you're entitled. You know what I'm saying? Because you're a Stark. And so Daenerys is here now. John is telling you, hey, she's a good queen, good woman. Because John has not only seen some of the work that she's put in, a little bit of it, but he knows that Varys and Tyrion, and they've been with her. And Jorah is a really respected man. I'm sure they told him a bunch of the stories. You see the people, the Unsullied, even the Dothraki following a woman. Like think about the Dothraki, then they're following a woman. Them, okay. So that should tell you at least a little bit of something. But no, you're just like from the jump when she got there. You're like, fuck her. I don't like her. I want nothing to do with her. So I say all that to say that everything that you expected when you got there, like not to say you didn't think it would be difficult, right? But nothing was like it was supposed to be. You lost friends. The people didn't like you. That one of the main people in power whose help you would have needed to make this a smooth transition met you with nothing but hostility. So and then now the dude that you've come to love, you find out that he's actually the rightful heir to the throne. And he's looking conflicted about it. He says he doesn't want it, but you can see in his face that he looks conflicted. He's arguing with you about this and that. He's being standoffish now, not communicating with you and telling you exactly what he's thinking about whatever situations that are going on. And you're like, what the fuck, man? Right? Then you come to her and let her know that, what's the name? Tyrion comes is like, you've been betrayed. The first person she thought of was John, right? And it was John, essentially, because she told you not to tell, and you did. Right? Yeah, I have to tell my sister. No, you don't. For what? Why? What is that going to accomplish? Exactly nothing. But you're going to tell me that you want John to be the leader of the Seven Kingdoms, you people, because you think he'll be a better leader, a good leader, but he can't. He's sitting up here saying he doesn't want to be king and he wants to follow the queen, Queen Daenerys. Okay, he's saying that time and time again. All right, I believe him because he's so adamant about it. But at the same time, you're not smart enough to see that if that's what you want, then you cannot tell your sisters because they're not going to want that. You can already see they don't like her, and Sansa is spiteful. You should already know what's going to happen if you open your mouth and you do it anyway. Okay, so you're dumb. So basically, you're dumb. I don't want that guy to be a king. He's an idiot. Okay. Um, So yeah, so you had all that work in your mind if you're Daenerys as she's sitting on top of Drogon when they try to manipulate her, right? That's another thing. People get caught up in the bells were ringing. She didn't have to attack. Hey, hey, that was a complete manipulation on Tyrion's part, which is the thing, right? I talked to people who said they didn't like that Tyrion was no longer as smart as he used to be. Well, he tried to be smart, but other people were smarter. They had wisened up. Okay, this is a 8 year, 10 year span or whatever, how long this show has gone, where people have grown, and Tyrion is not just getting over on everyone. And if you really think back, he was never just getting over on everybody. He had smart words, he had experiences, he had some things here and there that worked, yes, but he found himself as a prisoner like 3 or 4 times. Okay, so it wasn't like he was this all-seeing battle expert who is this all knowledgeable about everything. So just relax on that. He made bad decisions sometimes. Other people got smarter and wiser as they grew and got older. So not everything that he said was something that needed to be taken to heart. And it's like Tyrion's just supposed to lead you through everything because he's that guy. No, people evolve. Get off of that. That was not a big deal to me. But but that was a manipulation on his part. Okay, he said, "Hey, Daenerys, if you hear the bells ringing, that means they surrendered. Please don't attack." Okay, and then he goes to his brother. It's like, hey, brother, hey, I'm gonna let you out of here, right? And I want you to sneak in there. And once we break through, I want you to ring the bells, so Daenerys will think that y'all surrender, and we could just stop fighting. It was a complete manipulation. It was Jamie ringing the bells. It was not the actual soldiers at King's Landing surrendering. That's not actually what that was. And Daenerys didn't fall for it. She was pissed off about everything that had happened since she had gotten there, right? This bitch cut my best friend's head off in front of me while sitting there smirking on top of my castle. You know, nah, y'all got me fucked up. Oh, and Masande said Dracarys, right? She said it, right? Her last dying wish, her last words was burn this shit down. You go look. You can look at old girl's Twitter. I can't remember her real name right now, but the one who plays Masande, she was live tweeting during that episode, right? When her character got her head cut off, she was like Jakaris, and she said again, she was like, "That means burn this bitch to the ground." And guess what? A little bit of foreshadowing because that's exactly what she did. Honored that dying wish. I know it's fucked up. I respect it to an extent. I respect it to an extent. But yeah, she did not fall for Tyrion's bullshit ass manipulation ploy. Um, and she burned the bitch to the ground. And everybody was all up in arms about it. And whatever, we off that. All the great things that she's done to this point. She helped you fend off the Night King. You wouldn't be alive right now without her. She freed the Unsullied. She's led the Dothraki. She freed, like, she's been doing so many great things, and she makes, after so many devastating things happen to her, she does one despicable act, and you're like, oh, she's got to go. We're gonna murk her because you have the moral authority. You guys all have the moral authority over everyone, right? It makes me sick. It makes me sick. And it was so predictable the way they did it. At least do it some way that wasn't so predictable. The whole John, the lover, is the one who has to make the decision, who gets close and stabs her. Like, it was, I was saying it. I don't even make predictions on shows when I watch them because I like to just get entrenched in what's happening and absorb and enjoy, right? And whatever happens, happens. But as the episode was playing out, Tyrion's talking to John and all that, I'm like, this is not going to happen. I said it out loud to my family I'm watching with. This is not going to happen. It's way too predictable, and Game of Thrones has done extremely well with not being too predictable, but it's just way too predictable for John to go in there talking to her, that get close, and he just like stabs her and kills her, just some shit like that, and that's exactly how it's going to happen. As a show that touted itself as different, that's That really upset me, because it was such a huge part of the show. Daenerys, someone who's been a champion throughout the entire series, and you're going to kill her in such a predictable way. Cersei's death wasn't predictable; it was just trash. We everybody wanted a more gruesome death for Cersei. Joffrey died a more gruesome death. Even Bran didn't even die, but I feel like falling from 10 stories is worse than you know how she actually died. This dude was paralyzed for a while. You got to sit in your lover brother's arms and shit as the rocks fall. It's just too poetic. It's too poetic. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Um, the fight with the Hound and his brother, that was great. I like that scene a lot. It was fitting how it ended. The mountain was a mountain. I want to know what the fuck happened exactly. Like, I want detailed notes on what happened to the mountain to make him like that, because there's no way you were just born like that, right? We know they have magic and shit. We saw Melisandre, some of the shit that she did. Did somebody magic this motherfucker and do something to him to make him like that? Because that is wild. When he like stabbed him in the face, and he just started pulling that shit out. He was like, you know what? Hound was like, fuck this. We both out. And just to tackle him into the fire, his story's up. And we never saw either one of them again, because yes, they better both be dead. The mountain better fucking be dead. If he would have got up from those flames and walked out, yeah, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. That's that crazy, crazy, crazy. But this is a show where like being noble can get you killed. We've seen that. So, for it to end with like, oh, you did one bad thing and we are noble, so we're gonna kill you and take over, and now the Starks are gonna run the kingdoms happily ever after. I don't mind as much about Bran being king. I just think it's kind of a cool twist. I know people are upset because he didn't do a lot of fighting and all that shit, but he had a very crazy story. He was involved in Game of Thrones throughout. It's not like we haven't seen him since season 2 or season 3. He's had a very interesting story and a very important role, even though it hasn't been a physical one. And so I thought that was kind of a cool twist at the end. I didn't mind that as much. I did think it was weird how Drogon didn't kill Jon. Wish that he would have at least tried. Maybe he survives because he's half Targaryen, but he's burnt. You know what I'm saying? Crispy Jon. I don't know. Do something. Blow fire on Daenerys, and since she's the mother of dragons and she's healed now, she wakes up. I don't know. Give me something dope at the end. Give me something dope. This is the calm episode where the first 10 to 15 minutes is zero little to zero talking and shit, and then we have just a small dramatic scene here and there. Why can't we ever have an explosive finale? You know what I'm saying? Like some shit that you sit back like, wow, that was intense and a fitting ending to a show that's had many, many intense moments that have helped to really make the show what it is. They had some pretty cool graphics and images. The image they had, sorry, scratching my leg a little bit there. The graphic image they had of Daenerys walking after she got down off of Drogon when she went to go speak to the soldiers, and they had the Drogon behind her, the wings. That was lit. That was dope. I like that a lot. But yeah, there's just a lot to unpack in that episode, and the Daenerys thing, as you can see, was my biggest gripe. With the Night King, and the last the couple episodes ago when we had the Battle of the North there, I didn't have a huge problem with the length of the battle, right? Maybe you could have put it a little more towards the end, and then the fights could have been a little more back to back. I don't know how you do that to make more people satisfied. They should have been more episodes. That's first and foremost. There should have been more episodes than just 6. It felt like a rush job. When I saw the Starbucks cup or the coffee cup or whatever, I was willing to let that slide. Okay, people make mistakes. But then I hear that when Jamie and Cersei died, I didn't see it. I heard it from somebody I know and trust that he had his arms wrapped around her, and one of his hands was the one that was supposed to be fake. It was actually his real hand. Okay. And then on that last episode, when you had the people sitting in the, what I'm saying, the representatives of all the powerful houses at the end, you had the water bottle. I'm like, all right, come on now, man. Like, this is just too much. Now it really does. It feels like y'all are just kind of rushing through some of it. The attention to detail isn't what it was. I could let the first thing slide. Maybe even 2, but even that's kind of pushing it in a season that's only 6 episodes, okay? But 3, come on, man. You got to do better than that. You have to do better than that. I feel like it was a disservice in a little bit, and I don't usually like to go that far. Things aren't a huge deal in the grand scheme of other things. That's usually how I view them, but it's like something like that. It's like 3 times in a 6 episode season. Yeah, that wasn't great. And I needed a little bit better on that. But back to the battle with the Night King. What I wish was that we saw more of the Night King doing Night King things, right? So like we saw his army and all that fight. And that was cool for a while. It was a pretty long battle. It was like the longest in screen history, probably like 40 plus minutes or something like that. I don't have the number in front of me. But the Avengers battle in Endgame was 29 minutes, right? I timed it. 29 minutes about from the time that Thanos' ship fired that first shot to when Thanos and his army started disappearing was about 29, 30 minutes, okay? So that was pretty long in itself, but this one was even longer. So I didn't have a huge problem with the length of the battle. It was the things that were shown in the battle that I thought they could have made it a little bit better. We just didn't get to see a lot of the Night King actually doing this thing. And maybe it's because he knew he was fragile and he didn't want to expose himself until he felt he actually had to because he was so mission focused trying to go for Bran. I don't know. But the real Night King that we've been getting lately that I can enjoy, we can all enjoy, the one that we truly deserve, is Kawhi Leonard. He's the real king of the North. He's the real Night King right now. He's the one who's fighting through injury. Night King didn't fight through no injury. He got stabbed once, and it was over. Kawhi Leonard is battling whatever is going on in his leg, where he keeps limping anytime there's some explosion. He's grimacing, and he's still playing through it. He's still giving you numbers. He's still giving Milwaukee buckets, okay? It's not to the same high level as it was in the beginning, as it was last series. Last series was just stupid, but he's still giving it to you. He's not sitting down. He doesn't. You can't just wrap him up like that. You know what I'm saying? And have him sit down. He's out there. He's making it happen for his team. Okay. Giannis versus Kawhi is a great matchup, and I'm enjoying it. But it just also continues to highlight to me what I've been trying to tell people throughout the season. When Giannis was having this monster year, that Giannis is not better than Kawhi. It doesn't matter how many rebounds he gets, okay? And I love the rebounds. The 16 rebounds last night in Game 4 in Toronto. They lost, of course, but the points are more important. The efficiency is there for both of them, but when the points come is extremely important, okay? Like, Giannis finishes with 25 points last night, and that's a good game, right? But 10 of those points came in the first quarter. And then he only had about 2 in the second quarter. The rest of the game, he had about 13 or so, okay? So he finished with 25. He has 13 points divided up between 2 quarters in the second half. And the impact of those points is not as impactful as some of the times when Kawhi is scoring. He only had 19 in this past game. But Kawhi's points came when Milwaukee is making a run and they're closing the gap. Oh, Kawhi goes off and rounds a couple buckets. Boom, boom, boom. Push the lead back out. No, you're not getting back in. Oh, our team is down. We're struggling. Let me go ahead and take over for a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. He doesn't make his players, his teammates better in the same way that a LeBron and a Giannis do because they are more gifted passers than Kawhi is. He does it in a different way that he empowers his teammates to go out, be confident, and play your game. You don't see him being extremely demonstrative or hanging his head or yelling at his teammates when they don't throw him the ball in a timely fashion or anything like that. He'll play in the flow of the offense, let everybody go do their thing, take your shots. He doesn't complain. He just gets back on defense if you miss and everything like that. He empowers you that way. He wants everybody to contribute. That's what you have to do. Just play your role and contribute. Step up a little bit. This is the playoffs, right? So step up a little bit and play your role. That's all you got to do. And he's going to do the rest. Right now, he's hampered by injury and it's taking away from what he can do because we saw it last series. Okay, I have some of the numbers right here. Against Philly, he shot 53% from the field. He averaged 35 points and 10 rebounds on 53% from the field. That man is a monster. Okay, that went 7 games. If it would have ended in about 5 games, that number probably would have been like 60%. Because the last couple of games, his percentage dipped. It's a little bit as it came back to earth, but not too much. Not too much against who was it? Orlando in the first series, 28-7 and on 56% shooter. Now it's Kawhi Leonard. Giannis on this series is averaging. No, I don't have the average. I just have last night's game was 23, 16, and 50% shooting. Look, I can get it. Giannis. Okay, I have the stats right here. Giannis is this is what he's averaging per game: 23, 16 on 50% shooting. Amazing stats. This is a 50% shooting. They had 4.449. They had 45% shooting. Well, I'm tripping. So they're averaging the same in terms of field goal percentage. See, I don't claim to know everything off the top of my head. I have to go look up things. That's fine. So they're both shooting about 45% from the field during the series, and like they're both killing it in their own ways. But if you're watching the games, when the points are coming is what's important. It helps determine the outcomes. It doesn't matter if you have 20 points in the first half, if the game is close in the end and you can't do anything and you can't put up any points, right? That it doesn't make as much of a difference. When who is that had 25 points in the first half? Myers Leonard for the Portland Trailblazers. He had 25 points in the first half against the Warriors a couple games ago, a few days ago. He had 30 points for the game. So he had 5 points in the second half. Those 25 points helped. And yes, that 30 points helped. And if you're Dame Lillard, you have to try to get that home because you just wasted that type of performance from one of your people who doesn't usually give you that, right? So that's on them. But if he would have had those 25 points in the third and fourth quarter, as opposed to the first half, they probably would have been a little more impactful, of course, depending on what the score was at the time in the game, right? Timing matters. So when you're closing the gap and Chris Middleton is hitting all these buckets because he shot like 77% from the floor, in last game, he had 30 points, right? So the Bucks wasted a 30-point effort from Chris Middleton on 70+% shooting. In game 1, Kyle Lowry had 30 points on 67% shooting, and the Toronto lost that. So they both wasted some of those efforts by the other guys. But both teams are built of one superstar and then a bunch of other really good players on the team. And although the Bucks' second best player is probably better than the Toronto's second best player from top to bottom, I think that the better roster is Toronto. I think that they play better together, even though Milwaukee plays great together, right? And we're talking about inches here, and maybe even centimeters. It is that close. but Kawhi is a better impact player than Giannis because as long as Giannis is, he's still not a better defender than Kawhi because Kawhi is Kawhi. He's one of the best defenders we've ever seen. He does everything. If he wasn't compromised, you'd be seeing that even more, even though he's still averaging 2 steals in a block. Giannis is averaging a steal and 3 blocks. Um, but the shooting is basically what makes the difference, right? As a Spurs fan whose team has consistently won 50 games, right, over about 18 seasons, and then we've won 45 plus these last couple of years, 47 and 48 last year and this year, getting to the playoffs. So understand that I have seen a lot of regular season versus playoff basketball. Okay, you can be extremely dominant in the regular season and even through the first couple rounds of the playoffs because those are still lesser teams that you're playing against. But when it gets to the playoffs and you're playing another elite team and they can focus on you and what you do well, having a team that is built around one superstar and a whole bunch of other guys and that superstar cannot shoot, that is a recipe for a huge struggle, okay? And if Kawhi Leonard was not hurt right now, the yesterday would have been like they won that game by about 18 points. Maybe would have been more. For the when they won game 3, maybe would have been more, okay? Because he needed his other guys to step up, though. Because, like I said, he doesn't make his other guys better in that sense. They have to take it on themselves to step up, and he's going to be there, like, come on, along the way. Like, I'm going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I just need you to do your thing, and I got you. You know what I'm saying? That's how he does it. And so the other guys showed up. And this series has been a lot about that because they have been able to limit Giannis to a certain degree in a way that he has not been before. He's not averaging 40 in this series on 55% shooting. He's not doing that here because these guys are long. They're disciplined. They play well together. They have bigs that can come in the game. Someone like Marcus Gasol, who is big, and it's hard to just go through him. He can go around him sometimes. You catch him slipping, but it's hard to go through him. Let's see. As far as anything, I'm getting a phone call from my dad, from my pop. He's going to have to wait and call him back later. But yes, Giannis him not being able to shoot is pretty much the hindrance right now, and his form is interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much he can improve it. But if he gets that improved to where it's consistent, then it's a wrap. Then we're talking a different story. But you can't do that to Kawhi. You can't just wall off the paint and that's going to stop him because he can shoot. He hasn't been shooting great in this series, and part of that is probably because of that leg. But he can shoot, and you have to respect it, so you have to get out there to defend it. You know, like it just opens the floor up in a different way than with Giannis. So even when you're walling off guys, you have to be able to depend that those guys are going to continue to hit shots at a high level while you are not scoring at a high level because so now the other guys have to make up for your output on a consistent basis in the playoffs, and that's tough. That's tough because those guys on the Raptors can rotate even after they do their walks, and once you throw that ball off, they do a really good job of rotating and getting to their assignments to contest those shots. So that makes it extremely difficult game in and game out. It took Toronto a little bit to get going, but if their guys can just continue to keep playing like this, some semblance of this, and if Kawhi can just be healthy enough to be Kawhi, not even be super cyborg Kawhi, just be Kawhi, they can win this series still. And I would have picked them to beat Golden State if I could count on Kawhi not being injured at all. If he was not injured at all, and I would first of all, I would say there's no doubt in my mind that they're winning this Bucks series, and then I would say that they have a very good chance to beat Golden State with or without KD because, like I said, the length they can switch everything 1 through 5 depending on the lineup that they have out there. With Marcus Gasol, obviously they can't switch everything, but with Marcus Gasol against them. Against Golden State, as long as Mark is on his job, then he can make them pay by scoring buckets in the lane, and which a lot of teams can't punish Golden State in the lane like that because we don't have as many big men who can score in the paint like the old days, right? So those are just some things that I think about when it comes to that matchup in particular. But these playoffs have been very interesting. I've been looking forward to this series a lot, and I'm very upset and bothered that we're getting it with Kawhi being hampered by injury. But it's still been a fun series so far. I'm glad that Kyle Lowry showed up. He's been playing well. You know, he's been hooping. He's been having a really good series, and they needed that after some of the performances he'd given them. So that's a good look. We'll see what happens in the rest of the series. And then we'll watch Golden State win another title, something that I won't be as upset about if KD does not come back, because I've been kind of saying how they don't need him. You know, he's more of a luxury than a necessity type of deal. So I won't mind as much because I still think KD's a snake and F him and his legacy and all that garbage, whatever. Like, I'm sure he's a cool guy, but we're talking basketball, right? I don't like what he did. Never didn't then, still don't. So we'll see what happens. If he does come back, then I'm right with everyone else with like, oh my God, I'm tired of Golden State. I wish someone else would win it, but we'll see how that goes as well. This has been another episode of Sports and Spoilers. Please hit that like and follow button, subscribe to the YouTube, follow me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Snapchat, Sports and Spoilers on everything. We consistent, baby. Holla at your boy. Deuce.
Yeah. It's the rap Diablo. Macho when I drop flows. Bar gets raised up. It's me and Petey Pablo.
Oh, you motherfucker, you.